to another segment of the Trovards Kingdom. The Trovards Kingdom, as I said, is and will always be your one-stop place for entertainment, education, economy, family, religion, everything. So, last segment I talked about the 50 states of the United States of America and mentioned every state 3 times. 3 times. And now, I want to mention every country that exists on the face of the earth. And after mentioning it, I will tell you something else you can do. So, if you are someone who don't like to travel, if you are someone who likes to travel, but you don't know how many countries and which countries are here on the planet, this is your chance to know, because there are many countries. I think if you could travel and go to every country, I mean, that would take you a long time to finish. It was just your job to go in those countries, have fun, enjoy 3-5 months or few months. To take you a long time to finish them. So, to the travelers out there and to the people who like staying at their homes, I'm going to share with you every country that exists on the entire planet Earth. So, without wasting much of our time, let's head into it. The first country is called Afghanistan. You know, Afghanistan is a country that are known for Arabic, or the natives are also known as Arabs. So, we head to the next country, but I think I could give you additional bonus. I will also mention their representative. I'll mention each country and the bonus of their representative. So, Albania is also another country which is represented by Bajram Bagaj. Bajram Bagaj is the representative of the president of Albania. So next up we have Algeria. Algeria is also a country from Africa, Algeria, and is led by Abdelhamid Tebboune. Abdelhamid Tebboune is the representative of Algeria. So next on the list we have Andorra. Andorra is represented by Monsieur Emmanuel Macron. Mr. Emmanuel Macron is the head of $1. Next up we have Angola. Angola is also, of course, from Africa. And Angola is represented by Mr. João Manuel Gonçalves. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel Gonçalves is the representative head for Angola. His Excellency Mr. João Manuel Gonçalves is the President of the Republic of Angola, same as the head of state. Next up we have Antigua and Barbuda, which is represented by His Majesty King Charles III. He is also assisted by Sir Lorden Williams. That one is like a governor who governs Antigua and Barbuda for King Charles III. We all know the kingdom stories and how the ruler of law works in those kingdoms. You are appointed, you are going to be governing the state on behalf of the king and will give reports, direct reports to the king, which is pretty much good. So, next up we have Argentina. Argentina is led by Javier Gerardo Milei. Javier Gerardo Milei is the head of state of Argentina. Argentina, who do you know? Who else do you know? The superstar from Argentina. Do you know who the best player, known as Messi, is also from Argentina? Next up we have Armenia. Armenia is also led by His Excellency Mr. Vagan Khachaturian. Vagan Khachaturian is the head of state of Armenia. Vagan Khachaturian. Next up we have Australia. Australia is also one of the beautiful countries out there. I love Australia and I have friends from Australia. People who are in Australia, I wish you the best. So, Australia is also led by His Majesty King Charles III. Also assisted by John Harry. John Harry is His Excellency General John Harry is representing the King in Australia. Is working on behalf of the King for Australia. Yes. Then next up we have Austria. Austria is led by His Excellency Mr. Alexander Van der Bellen. Van der Bellen is the Federal President of the Republic of Austria. Get it? The Federal President of the Republic of Austria is led by Alexander Van der Bellen. So, next up we have Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is led by His Excellency Mr. Haidar Oglu Aliyev. Hamdan Oglu Aliyev is the head of representative head of Azerbaijan. Okay, next up we have Bahamas. Bahamas, yes, Bahamas is led by His Majesty King Charles III. Also assisted by Miss Cynthia A. Prats. Miss Cynthia A. Prats is the assistant or the governor for the king. King Charles III for Bahamas. So next up we have Bahrain. Bahrain is led by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. Bahrain is led by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. King Hamad Isa Al Khalifa is the representative head of Bahrain. Next up, we have Bangladesh. Bangladesh is led by Mr. Mohammed Sahabdin. Bangladesh is led by Mr. Mohammed Sahabdin, who is the representative legend of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Next up we have Rihanna's state. Hey guys, you know Rihanna is from Barbados. Barbados is a beautiful state and has beautiful people. Is led by Her Excellency Dame Sandra Mason. Her Excellency Miss Dame Sandra Mason. Dame Sandra Mason from Barbados is the head of the state. Yes, and Rihanna is the ambassador of Barbados. Next up we have Belarus. Belarus is led by His Excellency Mr. Alexander Lukashenko. Mr. Alexander Lukashenko. So, this is Belarus, which had recent years had some outbreak of, I think it's laboratories for landmines, something like that. I don't remember very well. But Belarus is also a good country, it's good people, and it's led by President Lukashenko. Next up we have Belgium. Belgium is led by His Majesty Leo Philippe. Leo Philippe is the head or the president of Belgium. Next up we have Belize. Belize is led by His Majesty King Charles III, assisted by the governor known as Mr. Foyer Salam. Mr. Foyer Salam is the assistant to the king in governing the state of Belize. Next up we have Benin, which is read by Son Excellence, Monsieur Patrice Anastas. This one is Benin, Anastas. Is Derrit, the head of this state. Okay. Next up we have Bhutan. Bhutan is ruled by His Majesty King Jim, Sal, and Gail. King Jim, Sal, and Gail is the head, the king of Bhutan. Next up we have Bolivia, also read by Alberto S. Catachora. Alberto S. Catachora is the head of Bolivia. Bolivia, how are you people of Bolivia? Alright, next up we have Bosnia and Herzegovina. Herzegovina is also read by Mr. Denis Petrovic. Is the chairman of the presidents of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Next up we have Botswana. Botswana is read by His Excellency Mr. Makwenzi Eric Kebetswe. Makwenzi Eric Kebetswe is the head of Botswana, head of state. Botswana people from Botswana, how are you? You know this man called Mokwetsi Eric Kebetswe is your president. I think you know him. Next up we have Brazil. Brazil, the biggest tyrants, football tyrants. Wow. Big guys like Neymar, Ronaldinho, and so many others, regions. From Brazil. So this country is led by His Excellency Mr. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is the president of Brazil. Interesting. So we are heading up to the next country, and the next country is Bulgaria. Bulgaria is read by Mr. Meldadev. But before we go to Bulgaria, we're going to Brunei Darussalam, read by His Majesty Sultan Haj Hassan Bolkiah. By the way, he has a long name. He has almost 5 names. And the names are Sultan Haj Hassan Bolkiah, Mo Izzuddin Wadula. Yes, that's the head of state of Brunei Darussalam. Next up we have Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is read by Son Excellence Captain Ibrahim Traoré. You know that guy. Africans, Traoré. I think you know Traoré. Yeah. He's the head of state of Burkina Faso. Next up we are going to Burundi. Burundi. Hi Burundi, hi people from Burundi. Wow. The representative of Burundi is and has been a soldier, is known as Monsieur Evariste Ndayishimiye. Is the head of the state of Burundi. And next up we have Cape Verde. Cape Verde is led by Son Excellence Monsieur José Maria Pereira de Naves. Let me repeat his name. Son Excellence Monsieur José Maria Pereira Naves. This is the representative head of Cape Verde, also known as the President of the Republic of Cape Verde. French is not my, no good at French. Well, let's go to next. Cambodia. Cambodia is led by His Majesty the Samdech Priya. This is Cambodia, King of Cambodia. Wow. Cambodia has a king. So cool. Yeah, that's very interesting. Cameroon. Cameroon, we have this Son Excellence Monsieur Paul Biya. Paul Biya. Yes, I think that name is cool. Paul Biya is the president of Cameroon. Oh wow, that's nice. Okay, Canada. Canada is a country under the leadership of the King, His Majesty King William III. Also has a representative known as Her Excellency Miss Mary G. Simon, who is a representative of the head of Canada. Next up we have Central African Republic. Son Excellence Monsieur Faustin Achaji Touadera is the head of Central African Republic. Next up we have Chad. Led by Son Excellence Monsieur Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno. This in Chad. Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno is the head of state, the President of the Republic, chef de l'État de la République du Tchad. Yes, as I said, I'm not good at French, so bear with me. Next up we have Chile, led by Gabriel Boric Font, is the president of the Republic of Chile. Next up we have China, led by the President Xi Jinping, is the president of China. However, China is running at a rapid pace. People from China, they are working so hard to become the biggest economy in the world. And America is working tirelessly to stay on top of the list of the biggest economies in the world. Isn't that interesting? Who do you think will win this race? In my own view, the winner of this race is going to be America, because let me tell you something. Why is America going to be the winner of this race? America But remember, China knows how to copy the next big move of America. And also, you didn't notice, it doesn't only copy, it goes beyond and invents senior stuff of the next move of America. Just take an example. You have seen like tech companies in US which are pretty much across the entire planet. But they have similar brands across China and across the world. Invent it, we just give you similar as their, I would say, it's their slogan. We give you similar, not only similar, but also at the cheaper price. So Americans, they have a tough task to become the winners of this race. So, next up we have Colombia. Colombia is led by Gustavo Petro Orrego. We have Comoros led by Azila Asman. We have Congo, which is led by Son Excellence Monsieur Denis Sassou Nguesso. We have Costa Rica led by Rodrigo Chavez Lopez. Also have Cote d'Ivoire led by Hassan Ouattara. Hassan Ouattara, Cote d'Ivoire. I think this president has been there for a couple of years. Couple good years. Next up we have Croatia led by Mr. Zoran Milanovic. Next up we have Cuba led by Miguel Diaz-Canel Valdez. Next up we have Cyprus led by Nikos Christodoulos. Next up we have Czechia, which is led by Mr. Petrev. Next up we have the Republic of Korea, which is led by Democratic People's Republic of Korea. You know, it's led by Mr. Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is the head of Democratic People's Republic of Korea. This is the North Korea, you know, and we have South Korea. So, they were once one country, later they became two countries. This is the one side effect of big countries. And when they are big, without governors, they tend to have a lot of challenges. They may have governors, but would not operate in a streamline with the head of state. Yeah. So next up we have Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is led by Monsieur Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo. Tshilombo is also one of the state leaders with a big country, which has always facing different challenges in terms of security. Um, Next up we have Denmark, led by King Frederick X. King Frederick X. Oh man, this is a very good name. King Frederick X is the king of Denmark. Wow, interesting. Next up, we have Egypt. Egypt is led by His Excellency Monsieur Ismail Omar Guelleh. Wow, is the president of Egypt. Wow. Next up, we have Dominica led by Mrs. Sirifan Baton. That's the president of Dominica. And we have Dominican Republic. Wow. We have Dominica and we have Dominican Republic. Different countries, by the way. So, Dominican country or republic is led by Luis Rodolfo Abinader Corona. Rodolfo Abinader Corona. Luis Rodolfo Abinader Corona is the head of state of the Republic of Dominica. Next up we have Ecuador, led by Daniel Noboa Azim. He's the president of Ecuador. Next up we have Egypt. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Egypt, the pyramid country. Well, it's shocking because Egypt is one of the countries that has more history related to what I can say, slavery. Yes. All these strong countries, they have been there for a long time, and in many ways they have faced this kind of slavery. So let's continue. This is what it is. Next up we have El Salvador, which is led by Nayib Armando Bukele. Nayib Armando Bukele. Flo El Salvador. He is president of this country. Next up we have Equatorial Guinea, led by Teodoro Obianga Nguema Basoko. Teodoro Obianga Nguema Basoko is the president of Equatorial Guinea. Wow, interesting. Next up we have Eritrea, led by Isaias Afwerki. Mr. Isaias, the president of Eritrea. Next up we have Estonia, led by Mr. Aura Karis. His Excellency Mr. Aura Karis, the most cleanest, most beautiful country of Estonia. Giants in tech. Big giants in tech. Also we have Swatini. Swatini, led by His Majesty King Swan III, has been there for quite some time, who is special in his own way because I think he has over 5 women, probably. He has more women. That's what's their culture. It's their culture. You know. Let's not get anyone offended. Every country has their own culture, and we don't have to feel offended or offend anybody. Countries are different, and cultures are also different. So Ethiopia, you have Ethiopia, and it's read by, it says Sahil workers read. Read. Next up we have Ethiopia. The beautiful part of Ethiopia is they are very quick adapting to the changes, to the technologies, to the development. You know, Ethiopia is really at a fast pace in terms of development, and it's a good sign, and it's helping Africa in general. So continue doing a good job, Mrs. Sahil, works with. Next up we have Fiji. Fiji is read by Mr. Latu William Varil. Next up we have Finland, read by Alexander Stark. Next up we have France, read by Monsieur Emmanuel Macron. Monsieur Emmanuel Macron. This is what I like about Emmanuel Macron. He's a humble man. Humble man, also friendly man from all corners of life. You know, maybe you have seen a trending video of him trying to comfort his best player, Mbappe. And yeah, this man is just special in his own way. Next up we have Gabo. Gabo is read by General Brice Clotaire Aubry Guéman. Next up we have Gambia, read by Adam Barlow. Next up we have Georgia, read by Her Excellency Ms. Salom Zouabi Zouabi. Next up we have German, read by Frank Walter Steinmeier. Yes, some of the names are not easy to pronounce, but German is read by Frank Walter. The next German name is Steinmeier, like that. Next up we have Ghana. Ghana is of course Akufo-Addo. Very simple name to me, because it's not my first time to mention this name. Akufo-Addo is the president of Ghana. Next up we have Greece, read by Catherine N. Next up we have Grenada, read by His Majesty King Charles III. Assisted by Her Excellency Dame Cecily. Next up we have Guatemala, read by Alvaro del Rio Bernardo Cesar. Cesar Bernardo Alvaro del Rio is the head of the state of Guatemala. Next up we have Guinea. Guinea is read by Amir Mamadi Doumbouya. That's the president of Guinea. Next up we have Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau is read by Sissoko Embalo. Sissoko Embalo is the head of Guinea-Bissau. Guyana is the next country, read by His Excellency Mr. Mohamed Ifan Al. Ifan Al is the head of the state of Guyana. Next up we have Haiti, read by Son Excellence Monsieur Edgar Leblanc-Fields. That is the head of state of Majesty. Next up we have Honduras, read by Iris Zamora Castro Sarmiento. Iris Zamora Castro Sarmiento. Next up we have Hungary, read by Mr. Thomas Sayuk. Next up we have Iceland, read by Hara Tomadotiri. Yes. Next up we have this is something that is going to take time. So if you feel like taking a break, it's okay. But if you want to continue, it's also okay. So next up we have India. India is read by Mr. Draupadi Murmu. Draupadi is the president of India. Next up we have Indonesia, read by Joko Widodo. Joko Widodo is the president of Indonesia. Next up we have Iran, read by Masood Pezeshkian. Next up we have Iraq, read by Rashid Jamal Latif. Latif Jamal Rashid is the president of Iraq. Next up we have Ireland, read by Michelle D. Hitchens. Next up we have Israel, led by Isaac Herzog. Isaac Herzog is the president of Israel. Next up we have Italy, led by Sergio Mattarella, president of the Republic of Italy. Next up we have Jamaica, led by His Excellency, His Majesty, King Charles III. Assisted by Sir Patrick Owen. Next up we have Japan, led by His Majesty Emperor Kishida Fumio is the president of the Emperor of Japan. Next up we have Jordani. Jordani is ruled by Abdullah bin al-Hussein. Jordani is ruled by the king, Abdullah bin al-Hussein. Next up we have Kazakhstan, ruled by Mr. Kasim Jomart Tokay. Next up we have Kenya, led by Mr. William Samuel Ruto. Next up we have Kiribati, led by Mr. Khaled Mahmoud. Next up we have Kuwait, led by His Highness Sheikh Michel Al-Ahmed Al-Jabbar Al-Sabah. No? His Highness Sheikh Michel Ahmed Al-Jabbar Sabah. Al-Jabbar Al-Sabah. Simple. Next up we have Kyrgyzstan, led by Mr. Sadir Zapalov. Kyrgyzstan. Next up we have Lao People Democratic Republic, led by Mr. Chononglam Susurith. Next up we have Latvia, led by Mr. Edgar Linkovics, not Bank, Linkovics. Next up we have I hope you are not tired. Let's finish the challenge. Next up we have Lebanon, which is read by Head of the Government Najib Azim Mikati. Next up we have Lesotho, read by His Majesty King Luigi III. Next up we have Liberia, read by Mr. Joseph Numa Wakai. Next up we have Libya, read by Mohamed Yunus Amifi. Next up we have Liechtenstein, read by Prince Hans Adam von and Zulu. Liechtenstein. What? Reigning Prince. Next up we have Lithuania, read by Mr. Gitanas Nausėda. Gitanas Nausėda. Next up we have Luxembourg, read by Altesse Royale. Next up we have Madagascar, read by Monsieur André Nirina Rajoelina. Next up we have Malawi, read by Mr. Lazarus Skafi Chakwera. Next up we have Malaysia, Sultan Ibrahim, with the Majesty or the Head of State of Malaysia. Lyrics, read by Mohamed Moizu. Next up we have Bari, read by Colonel Sim Koita. Next up we have Baisa, read by Miss Miriam Spiter de Bono. Next up we have Asho Irons, read by Hirida Hayin. Next up we have Mauritania, read by Texas Monsieur Mohamed Boucher El Ghazwan. Next up we have Mauritius, read by Mr. Lapun Pulichovilla Think. Okay. Next up we have Mexico, read by Andre Manuel Lopez Hablado. Next up we have Croatia, read by Mr. Winsley W. Simina. Okay, so I'm now almost getting finished with these names of the presidents and country names, of course. As I said, I have to finish the entire world. I won't stop if I don't finish every state, every country, every president, every kingdom, every king, the entire world. Yes. Next up we have next up from there we have Monaco, read by Albert II. So next up we have Mongolia, read by Mr. Okana. Mr. Okana. Suzuka. Next up we have Montenegro, led by Jakov Milatovic. Next up we have Morocco, led by Mohamed VI. Next up we have Mozambique, led by Felipe Jacinto Nyusi. Next up we have Myanmar, led by Winnie Maid. Next up we have Namibia, led by Nangolo Mbumba. Mr. Nangolo Mbumba is the president of Namibia. Mr. David Rambok Adiyanga is the president of Nauru. Next up we have Nepal, led by Mr. Amchandar Paudel is the president of Nepal. Next up we have Netherlands, led by King Willem Alexander. Willem Alexander is the king of Netherlands. Next up we have New Zealand. His Majesty King Charles III, assisted by Her Excellency Dan Sid-Kilo. Next up we have Nicaragua, led by Ortega Saavedra Daniel. Next up we have Niger, led by Tian Abdulrahman. Next up we have Nigeria, led by Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Next up we have North Macedonia, led by Mrs. Gordana Sijanoviska Dakova. Next up we have Norway, led by King Harald V. Hello, V. Next up we have Oman, led by Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. Next up we have Pakistan, led by Mr. Sif al-Sadar. Pakistan is led by Mr. Azif al-Sadar. Next up we have Palau, led by His Excellency Mr. Stongeli S.C. Phillips. Next up we have Panama, led by Excellency Moreno Quintero Raul. Next up we have Papua New Guinea, led by His Majesty King Charles III, His Excellency Sir Bob Dadai. Next up we have Paraguay, led by Santiago Pena Palacios. Next up we have Peru, led by Dina Ancilia Zegawa. Next up we have Philippines, led by Mr. Fernando Lamudes Marcos Jr. Next up we have Poland, led by Mr. Andrzej Duda. Next up we have Portugal, led by Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa. Next up we have Qatar, led by Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Next up we have Korea, led by Yoon Suk Yeol. Next up we have Republic of Moldova, led by Ms. Maya Sandu. Next up we have Romania, led by Monsieur Oana Iohannis. Next up we have Russia Federation, led by Mr. Vladimir Putin. Next up we have Rwanda, led by Mr. Paul Kagame. Next up we have St. Kitts and Nevis, read by His Majesty King Charles III. Her Excellency Dame Marcela Ivan. Next up we have Saint Lucia, read by His Majesty King Charles III, assisted by His Excellency Mr. Cyril E. M. Charles. Next up we have Saint Vincent and Grenadines, read by King Majesty, His Majesty King Charles III, assisted by Her Excellency Mrs. Susan Dugan. Next up we have Samoa. Samoa is read by His Highness Tumari Rifano Bartos Olafi II. Next up we have San Marino, read by His Excellency Mr. Alessandro. Next up we have Sao Tome and Príncipe, read by Manuel Villanova. Carlos Manuel Villanova is the president of Sao Tome. Next up we have Saudi Arabia, read by Al Saud Aziz Salman bin King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Next up we have Senegal, read by Monsieur Diomaye Dakar Faye. Next up we have Serbia, read by Mr. Alexander Vučić. Next up we have Seychelles, read by Mr. Wavon Kalawan. Next up we have Sierra Leone, read by Mr. Julius Maada Bio. Next up we have Singapore, led by Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Not his names, by the way. You can go on Google and search the president of Singapore. Read the second name. The first name is Tharman Shanmugaratnam. So it's not easy to read their names. Of course, since it's such a range, I have to try my best. Next up is Slovakia, is read by His Excellency Mr. Peter Peregrin. Next up we have Slovenia, read by Mr. Natasa Musa Pers. Next up we have Solomon Islands. Next up, read by His Majesty King Charles III and His Excellency Sir David Flugana. In the Tekafam, of course. So next up we have Somalia, read by His Excellency Mr. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. Next up we have South Africa, read by Cyril Ramaphosa. Next up we have South Sudan, read by Mr. Salva Kiir Mayardit. Next up we have Spain, read by Don Philippe VI. Next up we have Sri Lanka, read by Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. Next up we have Sudan, read by Fat al-Burhan Abdulrahman al-Burhan. Next up we have Suriname, read by His Excellency Santokhi. Next up we have Sweden, read by King Carl Gustav the 16th. Wow! Next up we have Switzerland, read by Madame Viola here. I'm heard. Next up, we have Syria Republic, read by Dr. Bashar al-Assad. Next up, we have Tajikistan, read by Mr. Nomad Imomad Rahmon. Next up, we have Thailand, read by King Mahavir Vajiralongkorn Fa Vajiralongkorn Yuhua. This is also the most challenging pronunciation. When you are reading these names, you know, if you are from Thailand, I know you cannot get it easier to read the names of people from Arabs or Rwanda or any country. So when you are not from the same countries, not easier always to read the names of the people, and especially when they have long names. These long, 3 to 5 names. So, next up we have Mr. José Lemos Horta, the state representative of Timor-Leste. Next up we have Togo, read by Monsieur Sosmina Kasibe, that is the president of Togo. Next up we have Tonga, King Topu the Sixth. Next up we have Trinidad and Tobago, read by Christian Kara Kangaroo, is the head of the state of Trinidad and Tobago. Next up we have the country known as Tunisia, led by Monsieur Kar Said. Next up we have Turkey, led by Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Next up we have Turkmenistan, led by Fedor Berdimuhamedov. Next up we have Tuvalu, led by, of course, the King Charles III, assisted by Tofiga Salan. Next up we have Uganda, led by Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Next up we have Ukraine, led by Mr. Vladimir Zelensky. Next up we have United Arab Emirates, led by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Next up we have United Kingdom, led by His Majesty King Charles III. Next up we have United Republic of Tanzania, led by Ms. Samia Suluhu Hassan. Next up we have United States of America, led by Mr. Joseph R. Biden Jr. Next up we have Uruguay, led by Luis Lacarepo. Next up we have Uzbekistan, led by Mr. Mirzoyev Shavkat. Next up we have Vanuatu, led by Vulobalav Nike Vulobalav is the head of state of Vanuatu. Next up is Venezuela, led by Maduro Moros, Nicolas Maduro Moros. Next up we have Vietnam, led by Mr. Tao Lan. Next up we have Yemen. Long. I hope you are not tired. Don't get bored. Okay. Next up we have Yemen. Mr. Rashad Mohammed Al Ali. Next up we have Zambia. Mr. Hakainde Ichilema. Mr. Hakainde Ichilema. Next up we have Zimbabwe, led by Mr. Emerson Tambuzo Nangagwa. Next up we have Holy See, led by Pope Francis. Next up we have State of Palestine, led by Mahmoud Abbas, His Excellency Mahmoud Abbas. So, these are all the states in the world and their representatives. Every state and their representative is mentioned. It took a long time, but we achieved the challenge. So, thank you for watching, and we want to give you good content. Just keep watching, stay tuned. We are together. Here at the Trobert Kingdom, we believe in you. We believe you can change the world. We believe you can make the world a better place. We believe that you belong in the right community, that you can make a difference wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you are, you can make a difference. So thank you so much, especially for you who watched this entire video, and I wish you all the best.